Hannah's prayer for a son, 1 Samuel 1:10-20, the full text of Hannah's prayer for a son from 1 Samuel 1:10-20, King James Version. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. And she vowed a vow, and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but wilt give unto thine handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. And it came to pass, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli marked her mouth. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thy wine from thee. And Hannah answered and said, No, my lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hitherto. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him. And she said, Let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way, and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad. And they rose up in the morning early, and worshipped before the Lord, and returned, and came to their house to Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come about after Hannah had conceived, that she bare a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, Because I have asked him of the Lord. This passage narrates Hannah's earnest and heartfelt prayer, her vow, Eli's reassurance, and the joyful answer to her request, the birth of Samuel. This is a deeply emotional and spiritually rich passage, and the specific words used carry profound significance. Here's a breakdown of the key phrases and their importance, verse by verse. 1 Samuel 1:10, And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. This phrase reflects deep emotional anguish. It expresses Hannah's profound grief and distress caused by barrenness, which in that time brought shame and social stigma. Prayed unto the Lord, Hannah turns her pain into prayer, showing that even in deep sorrow, she directs her heart toward God. Wept sore indicates uncontrolled, fervent weeping, a raw and genuine outpouring of emotion before God. 1 Samuel 1:11. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid, reflects Hannah's earnestness and deep commitment by making a sacred promise to God. O Lord of hosts, a title emphasizing God's supreme power as commander of the heavenly armies, Hannah is appealing to a powerful sovereign God. Look on the affliction. She asks God to see her suffering, to notice and care. Thine handmaid, repeated 3 times, a humble term showing submission. Hannah acknowledges her lowly position before God. Give a man-child. Her request is specific. She asks for a son, a desire rooted in personal longing and cultural significance. Then I will give him unto the Lord. Her request is not selfish. She pledges to dedicate her son to God's service. No razor come upon his head is a reference to the Nazirite vow, signifying lifelong consecration to God. 1 Samuel 1:12-13. As she continued praying, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Here, continued praying shows persistence and earnestness in prayer. Only her lips moved reflects silent, heartfelt prayer, unusual at the time when audible prayer was the norm, a sign of deep internal devotion. Her voice was not heard. This leads Eli to misjudge her, which makes her plea even more sympathetic and real. 1 Samuel 1:15-16. I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit, have poured out my soul before the Lord. Here, sorrowful spirit emphasizes deep sadness and emotional pain. Poured out my soul is a deeply poetic way of saying she held nothing back. She completely emptied her heart before God. complaint and grief, describes the content of her prayer. It was lament, not rebellion. 1 Samuel 1:17, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition. Here, go in peace is a blessing of divine reassurance and calm. Grant thee thy petition. Eli's response blesses her prayer, affirming that God hears and may answer. 1 Samuel 1:18, and her countenance was no more sad. Indicates a shift. Faith has replaced despair. After prayer, she experiences emotional relief even before the answer comes. 1 Samuel 1:19-20, and the Lord remembered her. She bare a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, Because I have asked him of the Lord. Here, the Lord remembered her, does not implying that God forgot, but that he honored her prayer in his perfect timing. Samuel is a name meaning heard of God, or asked of God. Every time she says his name, it reminds her and everyone of God's faithfulness in answering prayer. Words like bitterness, wept, poured out, and sorrowful emphasize authentic, heartfelt emotion in prayer. Repeated titles like Lord of Hosts and Handmaid reflect humility alongside trust in divine power. Words related to vow, consecration, and naming highlight spiritual dedication and trust in God's plan. The shift from sadness to peace shows the transformative power of prayer even before it's answered. This passage is a powerful example of how authentic, persistent, humble prayer, rooted in faith, can lead to spiritual peace and tangible blessing. Hannah's words and actions continue to inspire believers today to pray deeply, honestly, and willingly, dedicate their blessings back to God. God's power to reverse circumstances is a powerful and recurring theme in the Bible, and Hannah's story in 1 Samuel 1 is a shining example. Her journey from sorrow to joy, from barrenness to blessing, is part of a much broader biblical pattern that reveals God's deep concern for the lowly, the broken, and the seemingly forgotten. In a deeper look at this important biblical truth, we find Hannah's personal reversal from barrenness to blessing. In ancient Israelite culture, barrenness was often viewed as a source of shame and disgrace. Hannah is deeply anguished, constantly provoked by her rival Peninnah, and seemingly overlooked by others, even misunderstood by the high priest, Eli. Yet God sees her, hears her unspoken prayer, and completely changes the trajectory of her life. She goes from voiceless to prophetic, eventually voicing one of the most powerful prayers of praise in 1 Samuel 2. She goes from empty arms to carrying a child, and not just any child, but Samuel, one of the great prophets and leaders of Israel. The Lord remembered her. This is a biblical pattern seen repeatedly as God lifts the lowly. Hannah's story is one chapter in a larger divine narrative where God repeatedly reverses societal norms and lifts the lowly. Joseph, from prisoner to prince, Genesis 41. Moses, from fugitive in the desert to deliverer of a nation, Exodus 3. David, from overlooked shepherd boy to king of Israel, 1 Samuel 16. Ruth, from widowed foreigner to great-grandmother of King David, Ruth 4. Mary, from a young, humble girl in Nazareth to the mother of the Messiah, Luke 1. These reversals aren't just happy endings, they reveal God's character. He sees, hears, and acts on behalf of those the world ignores. He raiseth up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill. 1 Samuel 2:8, part of Hannah's praise, from isolation to purpose. God doesn't just solve Hannah's problem, he transforms her entire identity. Her barrenness becomes the backdrop for a destiny far bigger than herself. Samuel would become a spiritual reformer, prophet, and kingmaker. Her pain positioned her for purpose. Without the depth of her sorrow, she might not have made the vow to dedicate Samuel, and Israel might not have been blessed through him in the same way. This highlights how God uses our pain not only to heal us but also to shape history. Our hardships become holy ground. There is hope for today. God's reversals still happen. Hannah's story speaks directly to modern listeners. To the one battling infertility or longing for any unfulfilled desire, God sees you. To the person misunderstood, dismissed, or defined by limitation, God exalts the humble. To the hurting soul crying silent prayers, God hears and remembers. Sometimes the reversal is dramatic and visible, other times it's inward, a heart restored, a spirit lifted, a purpose reborn. But in all cases, God specializes in resurrection, bringing life to what seems dead. This pattern of reversal finds its ultimate fulfillment in Jesus Christ, who was born in a manger, not a palace, preached that the last shall be first, took on the shame of the cross to bring salvation to all, rose from death to bring eternal life. He hath filled the hungry with good things, and the rich he hath sent empty away. Luke 1:53, part of Mary's Magnificat, which echoes Hannah's prayer. Hannah's prayer in 1 Samuel 1:10-20 remains highly relevant today, offering lessons for anyone facing personal struggles or seeking deeper connection with God. Hannah openly poured out her anguish, sorrow, and desires to God without pretense. This models that we can bring our most honest emotions, fears, or disappointments to God. He welcomes real, heartfelt prayers, not just polished or formal words. Despite deep pain, Hannah boldly asked God for what seemed impossible, trusting that God was able to change her circumstances. Her example encourages us to pray boldly and believe that nothing is beyond God's power, while also accepting His wisdom and timing. Hannah not only prayed for a son, but also promised to dedicate him back to God. She teaches the importance of holding even our deepest hopes and blessings with open hands, surrendering outcomes and trusting God's greater plan, no matter how personally costly it may be. Hannah's persistence, praying year after year and refusing to give up hope, is a timeless reminder to remain steadfast in seeking God, even when answers are delayed. After her prayer was answered, Hannah's worship and recognition of God's faithfulness became part of her testimony. This illustrates how God uses honest struggles and answered prayer to bring spiritual growth, gratitude, and encouragement to others. Hannah's humble self-description as a servant makes her example accessible. Her spiritual closeness to God came from honest, faithful, and surrendered prayer, not from status or perfection. Hannah's prayer is relevant today because it demonstrates the power of authentic faith and prayer in hardship, the importance of surrendering our deepest desires to God, and the encouragement that God hears and honors honest, persistent prayers. Her story invites everyone to pray from the heart, trust God with outcomes, and remember that even grief and longing can draw us closer to Him. I would encourage you to reflect. Where do you feel helpless, unseen, or stuck? Can you choose, like Hannah, to bring your anguish to God? What might God want to birth through your barrenness? The God who reversed Hannah's shame into joy is still at work today, lifting the lowly, vindicating the faithful, and bringing purpose from pain. Thank you so much for joining me today as we reflected on the powerful story of Hannah's prayer. I am truly grateful for each of you, your presence, your willingness to engage with these deep truths, and your openness to learning and growing together in faith. Sharing this journey with you is a blessing, and I deeply appreciate every comment, every like, and every thoughtful share that helps our community reach and encourage more hearts. Hannah's story is a reminder that honest, heartfelt prayer, persistent faith, and open-handed trust can transform even our deepest struggles into testimonies of God's love and faithfulness. I hope you feel inspired and encouraged to bring your own hopes, hurts, and dreams before God, believing, as Hannah did, that He sees, He hears, and He cares. If this message touched you, I invite you to like the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for more content like this, and share it with someone who might need encouragement today. And just a quick note, some of the links in the description are affiliate links, which help support the channel at no extra cost to you. Thank you again for being a part of this community. May you feel blessed, uplifted, and assured that God meets you in every honest prayer. Blessings to you all.